the breaking news. I had this a day before it broke. I couldn't say anything. I saw you. We did a workout. And
you kept it.
Well, I wasn't positive. You hear we're talking about Jon Jones. We're talking about Jon Jones popping again, a third time. Now, we need to get into that a little bit because there are ramifications to how many times he popped. I believe this is only his second, even though reports are saying the third. And the reason I say this is when he popped for cocaine, to remind you, he did not have a commission or an USADA issue. I don't think, if I remember it, because don't you remember that came out that it was a street drug, and even though they didn't like it, they never took the time to actually write that in the statute. They didn't think a professional athlete would be on street. It's one of those things that was overlooked, but technically it wasn't a violation, right? Isn't that how that went down?
Yeah, it was he was busted for cocaine, and there was, I'm sure there's a backstory to this, but USADA tested him for coke, and it got out that obviously he was on it and he got popped for it, but I don't believe it was is cocaine a banned substance?
Right. Well, so that's the thing. So he was popped but not busted.
Yeah.
Now, to explain to the fans why we're talking about that, it is relevant. On your first time you're hit, it's a 2-year minimum. Absolutely, you're banned. On the second time, it's 4-year, and on the third time, it's a lifetime ban. Now, this is what we have been told. We were told this by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. They had a hearing on that. They brought the gavel down. The reports went out. But we've seen guys where that's not true. Even though we've all been told that's true, that's not true. To use Jon as an example, the last time he popped, or the first time he popped for steroids, for clomiphene, they gave him 1 year. Brock Lesnar popped on the same card, UFC 200, for clomiphene, safe substance. They gave him 1 year. Even though the ruling, the gavel came down and the headlights and the reports all came out that said it was 2-year minimum, mandatory. Those are two examples right there I just gave you where that's apparently not true. Yeah. With USADA, though, it is true. With USADA, they have something in place where on your first time it's X amount, on the second time it's X amount, and on the third time it's a lifetime. I just don't know what the first two are. I don't know what X amount is. I thought it was 2 years and 4 years because that's what the media came out and reported. But I just provided to you off the top of my head 2 examples where that's not true. So I guess I'm not ready to make a conclusion, but I am ready to give you my opinion. As I understand it, he is at a minimum of 4 years because this is his second violation. That's through USADA. Now he has another hurdle, which is through the California State Athletic Commission, and they could do anything, and those guys don't mess around. And since he did just come off a suspension, they took a gamble on him, took his word. They're going to be pissed off.
And even though that second violation might not technically be busted,
right?
It's got to hold some weight, right?
Definitely.
These guys, I mean, this is a subjective decision. These guys are placed in a position where they get to make that decision. Obviously, they're going to look at all the evidence.
You're going to look at all the evidence, and you're going to be mad you took a guy's word for it. I can just tell you, I went through this. When I came off my suspension, my first fight back was California. They called me up. They were very nice, but they were also very direct. So, look, we're going to take a gamble on you. We're going to license you. Give us your word here. Just talk to you like a regular guy. But I do know, had I gone back on my word, it would have been big problems for me. And that would have been fair. Andy Foster asked me straight up. He asked me like a gentleman. He called me directly. But he said, I need to know, if I license you, are you in compliance? And I knew when I was talking to him, man, this is a man-to-man deal, and my word had better mean something here. And I have a feeling, now whether Andy called Jon Jones or not, I know at least something similar to my experience happened. And if you double-cross a guy that's giving you an opportunity, I mean, come on. You know how that's going to go.
Those are not the guys you want to upset.
It's not going to go well.
No.
So Jon gets hit. Now, look, let's talk about this because, Coach, I have told you this 100 times, but I'll tell you it 101. I know every single guy that's using, and all I have to do is look at him. I don't have to see the sample. I know. I just lived in that world too long. I know. And not only do I know if they're using, I know what they're using. I know based on the traps, based on their lower abs, based on their upper abs, based on the nipples on their pectoral. I can tell you specifically what substances. When I saw Jon Jones fight DC, I turned to Gilbert Melendez and I said, he's using, but he must have found a way through this. He's got the brothers in the NFL. He knows the world a little bit. This is what I'm assuming. Yeah. Turns out I was wrong. I'm assuming he's got the right guys giving him the right stuff.
And those guys exist.
And those guys
exist. And anybody that doesn't know should know that those guys do exist.
Absolutely.
Not so much in MMA necessarily, because maybe not the money's not there specifically, but in those sports that the money is there, those guys, that's the world they live in.
Oh, bet your ass. And I turned to Gilbert and I said, he's using, but I guess he's not going to get popped. I mean, look, you take one look at his body. And for me that understands this, it's so weird to me, even frustrating when somebody else doesn't. So I'm going to try to articulate this for the listener, but it's kind of hard to do. The human body does not get better with time. When John Jones fought OSP, which is John Jones' single worst performance, he's such a talent, he still won every damn round and left with a world championship. But it was his single worst performance. He would tell you that. I felt a little rusty, whatever he said. But he admitted that just wasn't the John Jones that we're used to. That John Jones with his shirt off versus the John Jones that weighed in against Daniel Cormier were two different bodies. The human body does not get better with time. Yeah. And you can fool the masses by telling them that, oh, well, yeah, he was eating different and he was training different. Oh, really? He trained harder for a world title fight than he did previously for a world title fight? He ate differently to make the exact same weight for two different fights on two different nights? Yes, no, everything was the same. The diet didn't change and the lifting didn't change and the running didn't. None of it changed. He was taking something. That's what I told Gilbert. I told him the same thing when JDS got ready to fight. JDS was a product of USADA. He had the body and the power and the grit and the drive and the endurance. He had all of these things. USADA came in. He changed. His record changed. His body changed. He got the title fight with Stipe. And all of a sudden, he came back looking like old JDS. And I told Gilbert the same thing. I said, man, he's back on it, and he had better be careful. Because those guys in Brazil, the same guys that grabbed Anderson Silva and said, we can beat this test, are the same guys in those same circles. And I knew this was coming down the pike for JDS, and I knew should be coming down for Jones. But I will admit, I thought that John had found a way around it. I was wrong. And what he tested positive for is a dirty, filthy steroid. As far as designer drugs go, this isn't the one that you would take. Now, clomiphene, which he popped for the first time, that is a little bit more sophisticated. But this one, termatremabolin, or am I close? Am I saying that close enough to write? Yeah. Termatremabolin. Yeah. That's not even a good one. So whoever's giving him this advice, I mean, they're giving him bad advice. It's like a power lifter drug. It was just mind-boggling that he ended up with this. And I'll also tell you, and I'd love your opinion on this, but I'll tell you this. I'll make this prediction now early for our fans too. He will not be guilty. There will not be a time where John comes out and goes, man, I screwed up and I did it. He'll handle it like a sociopath. Oh, 100%.
Put something in his drink when he wasn't looking.
Oh, he'll cough up some tears and this was tainted. And he'll do the whole rigmarole. I had his manager on. Malky.
What's the old story? Fool me once. I mean, come on, John.
The silly me defense is a good defense, but it works once. Yeah. When you walk out of the store with the clothes over your shoulder that you forgot to pay for and you go, oh my God, silly me. That works. Once. You don't get it. I had Malky on the show. And when we talked privately, man, Malky was heated. He's going, he would never do that. He's just the best. People have a hard time accepting how good he is. And it's like, Malky, I love that you're backing your guy. And I know that you believe it. I know you really believe this, I don't think I'm the one breaking this to you because the test just broke it to you. Your guy's cheating. Your guy's been cheating.
Yeah, and I can see how. I mean, we spent couple months with him when we did the Ultimate Fighter. He's a hard guy not to like.
Yeah.
So I could get where people are coming from, but I mean, you want to see the best, but yeah, I mean, you can't 3 times. Come on, man.
There's nothing
you'd have to be an idiot.
You'd have to be an idiot. I made this point, Coach, too. I made this point several times on this podcast. And I don't feel like I never want to kick a man when he's down. So I want to disclose, because if I say anything now or my tone sounds off for the listener, allow me to correct it. This just happened. Yeah. We're just trying to discuss what happened.
I literally read this on the way here.
Right.
I'm on my way here. I'm talking to Reese on the phone and he tells me about it. And I'm like, what?
Right. And I'm not trying to take any kind of pleasure in it, but there is a pleasure in a guy trying to get away with it that gets caught when he's going head to head with somebody who's just as straight and narrow as you would think, which is Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier got booed up one side and down the next. People took pleasure in him crying and his heart being out there and him putting everything on the line, on his dreams being dashed, on his title being taken. Daniel was the good guy, and Daniel was playing it straight. And so, there is a bit of a, hey, if this is what it takes to elevate Daniel to where he deserves to be, then so be it. But our attempt here today is not to kick John while he's down, but this is what happened, Coach. This is just what happened. When he popped for coke, I came on my podcast. And I said, guys, I knew he'd been cheating for a while. I fought him. I had a higher juice concentrate than Tropicana, and he pushed me around like a Mack truck versus a Volvo. I knew full well, but he didn't pop, so I can't say anything. I can't say the guy's using it. He was smarter. He got away with it. So I understood these things, but I did try to make this point for the listener. And I did just try to say, listen, no one's going to take cocaine, which can not only impair you, it can kill you. It can get you put in handcuffs and placed in prison. No one's going to take cocaine without rounding the bases of in performance enhancers, things that could actually help you, make you better at your job. You're not going to take something that'll put you in the morgue.
I just had an argument with somebody, and I wish I could remember who it was because I would put them on blast right now about this exact same thing. I was like, well, I don't know. I think John was on something then. No, he wasn't. He's natural. I go, come on, man. You're going to tell me he'll do cocaine, but he won't do performance-enhancing drugs. Right. And this guy would swear by it. And if I remember his name, I'm going to put him on blast.
Well, John's done his own before and after photos. And, before training, and he's fat and he's skinny and he's soft. And then a week before the fight, and he puts out the picture. Look at the transformation. It's like, John, you're going to fool a lot of people with that whole I went into training camp and I transformed my body. But
he was at a competition, if I'm not wrong. Right. So he could do just about anything he wanted, and he didn't have to worry about the ramifications if somebody went to his house. So at that time, he's probably
the old rules.
I'm sure he's doing everything at that time, right? Why not?
So that's the old rules before USADA. So you do this before and after, but a smart mark like me is looking at going, John, you just outed yourself. You just gave yourself up. Keep your shirt on. Don't ever put a picture out of yourself, of your before and afters when you're on a cycle and you're off a cycle. But he chalked it up and people ate it. They went for it that, this is just a training camp.
Yeah.
Because I go through training camps all the time.
He's not the first one to do that. No. Fernando Vargas did that when he fought Oscar De La Hoya.
Yeah, and guys try to act like, look how surprised. And it's like, no, man, it doesn't work that way. You were off a cycle, then you went on a cycle, and then, dum-dum, you documented it. And you sent it out for the world to see. Now, no one called you on it because the world doesn't understand this, but the smart marks, myself included, hold the microphone right now and talking to the world that doesn't understand. We do know. I won't say anything until you get hit. But once you get hit, we're going to talk about the story.
Yeah, it's fair game.
And that's just what happened. So when he tests positive for coke, I did come on. I said to people, this is very unbelievable that you're thinking a guy would take something that could kill him, but he would not take things that would help him. That's an absurd logic, but it's the one you're choosing to believe. We don't have evidence to support otherwise, but that is the logic that you're going with. Then all of a sudden, the test comes out. Test positive for clomiphene. I think he had a few things in his test. I get him and Anderson confused, though. Anderson had 3 things, but 2 of them were dumb. One of them was a steroid. Jones, I think, had 2 things, but one of them was dumb. One of them was clomiphene. Same thing Brock got hit for. And now he came out with this Tremobolan steroid. And so, yeah, the hypothesis was right.
And they're not even doing and they're not even doing the right stuff.
They're not even doing the best. I mean, this is good. Like a power lifter would hear that and go, well, yeah, that's really good stuff. I'm just telling you, for an endurance athletes, most endurance athletes would not touch something like that unless they were in the heavyweight class. It can put some weight on you. It can put some size, make it a little harder to make 205. I mean, they're all helpful and they're all good. They're all expensive. They're all illegal. They're all hard to get. But in order of what's best, no, Tremobolan is, I would put it at probably number 6 to number 8.
Wow. Yeah, I would think a guy like that, it'd be more about endurance than it would be about strength. I mean, he's already big. He's got leverage.
And let's not forget this, if we're being fair, and there's a little speculation here by us, sure, but if we're being fair, if a guy gets hit for the number 8 thing on the list, don't act like he only took the number 8 thing, right? It's like the guy gets caught stepping out on his old lady. You know, the one time it gets caught was the only time he did it, right?
She was fat, Joe. I wouldn't have touched her.
It's never the first time or the only time he did it.
I was going to cheat. She would have been,
Yeah, so, who knows what really happened there. But again, if you look at Daniel Cormier with his shirt off, that's a guy that goes through training camps. That's a guy that diets hard. That's a guy that does everything right. That's what a normal guy looks like.
Yeah.
And there's no amount of diet or exercise that's going to change that. I just wrote a book, and it's coming out on December 26th. You can pre-order it at Amazon right now. But it's called The 4-Pack Revolution. And it's basically, this is how a guy should look. A guy should have a goal of having a 4-pack because a 4-pack is realistic. No one has a 6-pack except anorexics and drug addicts. And the next time a guy lifts up his t-shirt and points to his 6-pack, point back at him and say, quit taking steroids. Daniel Cormier has a solid 4-pack. John Jones had a 6-pack. They train just as hard. Well, Daniel probably a little bit harder. They diet and make just the same weight class. but John Jones took substances. And that's the difference. And that's what, for any of you that want, go to Amazon right now, 4-pack Revolution, thank me later. But this is the point behind it. Guys are supposed to look a certain way and not look a certain way.
Yeah. I mean, he's the 4-pack is probably sits up higher, where that 6-pack, those last two muscles are probably lower down to the abdomen, right? Is that where that last two sit typically?
Yeah, a guy's not going to have that unless he's taking it. An adult doesn't have that. They just don't. So at any rate, there's the John Jones news. Are you good on that topic? You got a final thought?
No, yeah. I mean, I wish the guy luck. I mean, I'm kind of disappointed. I'm also disappointed for Cormier a little bit because, he went out there and I don't know. I guess this doesn't really tarnish his legacy at all, but in theory, he lost his belt. I guess I don't know. Do they hand it back to him? Or is he number one contender?
No,
so he goes right. He's back to champ again.
That fight is now a no contest.
Yeah,
if not a disqualification.
Kind of a shitty way to win it, right? I mean, it's not his fault, but
it's not his fault. That's the rule. They will crown him champion. They have to do that.
Huh. Interesting.
But it also wasn't a fair fight.
No.
And Tema Treblebolin, that's just the one they found. I'll just tell you that now.
Yeah.
That's the one they found. The litany of things that he took, that's the one that he has to answer for. But it's going to be tough, and I do believe he's got a 4-year minimum. We'll have to check that. I don't want to report that. We'll have to check that. But I believe USADA on your second hit
How old's John now?
John's 30.
So he'll be 34.
He'd be 34.
Wow.
I believe this is a life ban.
This might do it, huh?
Man, I think so. Now, to your point, he could come back at 34, but and things will have cooled off by then. Things will have cooled off 4 months after he finally. This is going to be hot for a little bit, and then it blows away.
Yeah.
So PR-wise and everything, I think he could come back. But is there a calling for him? Is there a demand for him? John's not the pay-per-view draw that some media like to report that he is. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not one of their biggest stars. And the media also reports that they don't know the numbers.
And we could be talking about anything, any other sport, and any other. I'm sure we'll get into the McGregor Conor thing, but the reality is, the sport's bigger than the athlete. I mean, this isn't gonna. John will do whatever John does, but there's 10 more guys with belts wrapped around their waist right now, and the sport goes on.
Yeah, no, that's true. I can't remember when he went through this though. So many media, and Dana did defend him pretty good, and you had the hit and run thing, and Dana did back him, and that's a helpful thing. And so many people said, well, yeah, he's their biggest star. And it's like, no, you don't. The media never knows what in the hell they're talking about. And they still say Ronda's the biggest star. She not only is she not, she never was. That is an absolute falsity. But that's the story that's put out. Great. That's the reality that we got to live in. So the point I'm trying to make to you is John was the UFC's greatest talent, but he was never their biggest. He doesn't hold any records. He doesn't hold the Fox record. He doesn't hold the FS1 record. He doesn't hold the Live Gate record. He doesn't hold pay-per-view records. He has absolutely no record. The media just keeps saying he's their biggest star, but that's because they don't actually know. They don't actually see those numbers. They've never talked to an athlete who's got a contract with audit rights and sees the pay-per-view numbers and compares them. They just know he's the greatest talent in one of the most coveted weight classes. I don't know that I have a point on that. Somehow we started talking about that, and I finished my thought, but there you go.
It's interesting. I mean, the greatest talent. I mean, I guess there's an argument for Mighty Mouse, but he's not a big draw either, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, he's
pretty amazing. I hear you on that.